Hi, and welcome to More Human, More Resources, the HR podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm Vicki Brown, your host and CEO of Vidamaneo Enterprises. As a serial entrepreneur, I understand that having the right expert help has been critical to my success. That's why I'm dedicated to telling you, in plain language, what's going on in the world of HR that might impact your business, and what you need to do about it, with real actionable tips to help you master that list of must-dos and grow your leadership muscle. First things first, the information contained in this podcast is provided for general purposes only and is not to be considered legal advice. Your decision to adopt or not adopt any practice or procedure mentioned in this podcast is solely yours, and we bear no responsibility for the outcome. We urge you to always consult legal counsel and other appropriate licensed professionals. And with that, let's get into the show. You're listening to Season 2, Episode 40. So, the question? Xander left work early yesterday. Can I dock his pay? Well, the answer to that question is, it depends. You see, docking someone's pay, or reducing the number of hours that you're going to pay them, well, that depends on their employee classification. Non-exempt employees, those who are eligible for overtime, are paid for the hours that they work. So if they don't work it, they don't get paid for it. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, exempt employees are a different question altogether. You see, there are some company benefits for exempt employees. For instance, you don't have to pay them overtime, so they have to work as long as it takes to get the job done. But there are also some company drawbacks. They aren't paid for the hours worked. They're paid a flat weekly salary. So you, as the employer, are really limited on why and how you can do anything to reduce that weekly salary amount. Now, this piece is important because if you get it wrong, you can cancel out that exempt classification. And that means you're now responsible for overtime, meal and rest breaks, and all the other joys that come with the administration of non-exempt employees. So, back to Xander. Let's say he's exempt. Well, you can't dock his pay, but you can dock his PTO bank. So if Xander has vacation or personal hours, you can deduct that time from the bank. That way, his pay will remain the same. So when can you dock an exempt employee's salary? Well, you can deduct if they don't work for a full week. And by a full week, I'm referring to your payroll week. So if your payroll week is Sunday through Saturday, and Xander is out on Monday through Friday, but then works that next Saturday, well, then you have to pay him for the full week because he worked one day, that's Saturday, in the payroll week. So he has to be paid for the full week. But if Xander doesn't work any days that week, then you don't have to pay him. Now, if Xander's start date or termination date falls midweek, you can prorate those weeks and pay only for the portion that he worked. Again, this only applies at the beginning and end of Xander's employment. If Xander is voluntarily absent from work for a full day for personal reasons, meaning something other than sickness or disability, well, then you can dock a full day's pay. But if he has any paid time off, like vacation, etc., it might actually be better to take it from that bank, just to be on the safe side of things. And speaking of illness, if you don't have some sort of sick leave policy, and honestly, so many states have mandatory sick leave, so this absolutely may not apply to you. But if you don't have a sick leave policy, and Xander comes in on Monday for 2 hours, realizes he doesn't feel well, and goes home for the rest of the week, well, then you have to pay him for the full week. That's because, absent a sick leave policy, you can't dock his pay. However, if you do have a sick leave plan in place, and either Xander isn't yet eligible for it or has used all his time, then you are allowed to dock for a full day. But again, if it's only a part of a day, don't deduct the time. Now, if Xander is out a full day or partial day, due to taking time under the Family Medical Leave Act or FMLA, then you can dock his pay. And keep in mind, there's a bit of a calculation that has to happen on figuring out what to pay for a partial week or day. You have to pay a proportionate part of the full salary for time worked. Now, if Xander is on jury duty or witness duty or temporary military duty, unless it's a full week or more, you have to pay him. Another thing that comes up is leave without pay for policy violations. Well, you can't do that with exempt employees unless you have a clear policy in place. It's for 1 or more full days, no partial days, and it's specifically related to policies around things like harassment and violence. You can't reduce their pay because of the quality or quantity of their work, so that type of policy wouldn't apply. And by the way, if they're doing a bad job, you're going to have to just address it directly with them as a performance issue. Now, what about holidays? Well, unless you close the business for a full work week, exempt employees have to be paid for the holiday. And here's a pro tip. You can't require them to work the day before or the day after the holiday to get paid. Now, I know that's a popular policy, but it can't apply to exempt employees. They have to be paid no matter. So, I keep saying that you can't dock their pay, but you can take time from their time off bank. Well, what happens when that bank runs dry? Well, then, generally speaking, you can dock for a full day or more. Now keep in mind, in addition to the federal guidelines, your state may have specific rules around this topic as well, so be sure to check in with your location. So the takeaway? I suggest that before you dock any pay for an exempt level employee, you consult with counsel. As you can tell, the rules around when you can and can't are a bit complex, and the downside of getting it wrong is just too big. If you found this information helpful, please leave a review and tell a friend. Thanks for spending the time. Until next week, same time, same place.